Hello everyone, we're back again. My name's Cureton, senior journalist from XR Today, bringing you the latest and greatest from the VR, AR, and XR industries. And today we have on episode 3 of the big news show. We have on a star-studded guest list that we have here. We have on several people. I'd like to go around and let everyone introduce themselves. First of all, we'll start with you, Sami.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sammy Tauber. I'm the founder, director, and a multimedia artist at my company, Vinci. You probably know Vinci based on the personality of an avatar. Vinci is a character. She's a 3D, super sentient AI, fictional AI superheroine from the future. And I build multimedia content based around this IP.
Excellent. And maybe I should say Sammy. That probably was the thing that kicked it off. All right, Sonya, over to you. Please give us a quick introduction of yourself.
For sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Sonya. A while ago, I founded a community-based product called Apples, but right now we're actually in hold to see where the product actually evolved. And right now I'm working together with some of the brands of e-commerce, of traditional e-commerce, to build a bridge for them to Web3.
Excellent. Onward to you, Kevin.
Good evening, or good afternoon, folks. Kevin O'Donovan, a technology evangelist. I spent my time in my career looking at new technologies and how they'll impact the way we work, the way we interact with folks, how we collaborate. And as we go forward with AR, VR, XR, industrial metaverse, virtual worlds, the cycle continues. So interesting times.
Excellent times they are. Oh, yeah. Next up, we have Mr. J.
Hey, hello. J. Latta here. I'm born for innovation, for creativity and such stuff. I call myself mostly, instead of a CEO, the chief dreamer, because the CEO is simply, come on, from a one-man show, everyone is meanwhile a CEO. I'm running a think tank. I'm as well having an invest fund. I'm in this area around the latest hot shit around, and yeah, this is why I'm invited.
Brilliant. Last but certainly not least, we have Louise.
Hi all. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I'm Luís Martins. I'm the CMO at KTR. It's an industrial augmented reality startup that aims to bring all factories into Industry 5.0 and center factories' activities around human beings. Besides that, I also co-authored a book that I spent a lot of my late nights and weekends last year writing or co-authoring alongside with Samantha. It's called Metaversed, and it was launched last month. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
Brilliant. Excellent things all around. Thanks for the introduction, guys. So we're going to kick it right off for our show. So first up, we are going to talk about Meta Platforms. We wrote a story up called Meta Platforms Announces 10,000 Job Cuts in Staff Memo. And this was a very, very big story that came out talking about, the second wave of layoffs that took place around the industry. So for you guys, who do you believe what do you believe are some of the hardest lessons of this particular tech crunch that's going around? First of all, we'll go with Louise and Kevin.
Okay. So I think that the first one, the first hard truth is that tech is not a bubble inside the economy. So everyone got hit. Everyone is being hit. And tech and is all around being hit also. Now, of course, we saw Meta going into the metaverse very gung-ho. I think you couldn't go even much bigger than just renaming yourself into the market that you're going into. So in that sense, of course, Meta did a huge bet that the market was not ready for and still isn't, because and this is actually something that I came to realize in the past few weeks. We're not talking just about a new version of the web. We're talking about a new version of the internet, right? So that's what we're aiming for. It's talking about a new level of technological interaction that people need to learn, as they did with the internet. Now, 20 years before, we had like videos of people asking, oh, but what is the internet? Oh, what is the internet all about? Still, today, we have some people in doubt. Now, it really is all about educating the market. I think that most probably Meta will eventually come back. But we have also to think about the good things. The good things is that now we have more qualified and experienced workforce available in the market, and our market is hiring. We are hiring, by the way.
Brilliant. Kevin, how about you?
You know, as Louise says, is that the fact that the tech industry, and Meta being an example, right, is facing a downturn coming out of the COVID. It is a tough situation for the people that are impacted. I suppose the good news is that there's plenty of tech jobs out there, so the jobs market isn't exactly constrained. But I'll date myself. I was around in the 2000s, right, with the dot-com boom, right? And we had the similar hype cycle and the boom and burst. To Louise's point, the tech industry in 2000 wasn't seen as critical to the economies of any country as it is today. So the fact that the likes of Meta and many other companies in the tech thing are reducing, it's an economic reality. That said, there's plenty of jobs out there for people. I would personally say that some of these companies probably overhired during the pandemic. And the thing that I would say is that Meta facing its problems is not to do with the metaverse. We've chatted about this before, right? In terms of this is to do with a downturn in their business model, advertising and. The metaverse hype has died off, thankfully. But yet there are plenty of companies, especially to Louise's point, in terms of the industrial players who are doing a lot of stuff here. So it's a speed bump. But the technology is not slowing down. Certainly the economic situation with banks, my personal opinion in terms of some of the stuff we get up to, what happened with Silicon Valley Bank probably has a more immediate impact in terms of funding for startups and right. But the speed bump, but not the end of the story, right? Jay?
Yeah. This first question is already something that triggers me extremely. As first, Meta itself, it was like a grenade that was launched simply to distract from them being evil. Period. These are data parasites, nothing else. So the whole metaverse was just a train to hop on to distract everyone else. By coincidence, they have motivated a lot of people. The issue is I have a lot of consultations. They ask me, hey, Jay, what is about the new AI winter, the blockchain winter, the NFT winter, the metaverse winter? The thing is, there is not a winter. The winters in the past were because the technology was not enough. It was just in its baby steps. What we have right now as these winters or silences is simply because the money givers do not see a fast possibility how to make crap loads of money. They jump on a train. Meanwhile, we have every year a new hype. If you go through all of these events, you see every year something new popping up. So right now, this issue, to put it against the tech companies are becoming right now a little bit more the older guys. So what we see in traditional industries, they are overhiring, not just since the pandemic, since decades. It's the goal to have enough people because everyone is driven by the shareholders. So if you have a good business, you hire. Out of two reasons: to give a signal to the stock exchange, oh, we are hiring, we are doing good stuff, so climb, my stocks climb. The second reason is to get people off the market so that your competitors do not get them. These tech companies are doing exactly the same thing. They are hiring people, multiple redundant, they don't need them. Now they see, oh, damn it, especially with Meta, their business model is simply selling data of others people. So this model does not work anymore. Recap, Zuckerberg is complaining all the time. If it's about, oh, Apple is so evil, they are kicking us from their devices, we don't make enough money, and so on. So all of these business models have to simply become mature. They do not work like this anymore. Plus, one of the fears from against Meta is when they already know our 2D data, how dangerous would it be to give them our spatial data? I would rather burn than to give it to them. I gave away everything for Meta. So here it's simply the overall business. Everyone is firing because they had an overload on people. The business models do not fit, and because majority of the companies are still depending on external money, and the money givers, this was one of the reasons during the pandemic, private equity till 30 million completely disappeared. On this, we'll elaborate later on during the Silicon Valley Bank. So this is the most of the problem. Simply the fresh money is not coming in. So they have to get rid of the people that they hired because they don't need them.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of turmoil in the markets. You've seen Microsoft, Meta, you've seen a lot of other companies shedding off a lot of the different people that they hired at the beginning of the pandemic to try to kind of compensate for what they thought was going to be a rapid adoption of metaverse technologies when that didn't happen. Of course, they retracted that. And so now we're going to see what kind of aftermath that creates, especially now with the three banks kind of going downwards. And we'll get into that very shortly. I wanted to jump to the next question, which is the topic about International Women's Month. And we had the story House of Blueberry. They shared their secrets to Web3 fashion success. And I wanted to get, of course, Sammy Tauber and also Sonya's opinion on this, and anyone else who wants to jump in as well to talk about this story. So what were your initial thoughts about this story? And also, what reflections did you have about International Women's Month in the Web3 space?
Yeah, it's really inspiring to see like women step up, especially in the metaverse and Web3 digital fashion. It's unlocked all these revenue and value models that are emerging, and the digital fashion forms part of like the direct to avatar, which is coined like the next direct to consumer. And so tying this in with like International Women's Month, and the theme was accelerating equity and empowerment. It's really interesting to see on social media the diversity of response in relation to this, because just dedicating a month to International Women's, it's a beautiful notion and signature, but I do believe it's a thing that needs to sustain longer than a month. And it's further than just, virtual signaling, as in like, we're empowering women. It's a shifting of mindset as well. And it's overcoming like epigenetic memories of women, like as a gender, thinking that we're not capable or achieving these sorts of things. In fact, there was a McKinsey report that was saying women are spending more time in the metaverse, yet there's less female founders. Why is that? I mean, I honestly cannot answer that question, but it's great to see like that story, female founders being successful like with digital fashion. But I'd like to see that stem out further as well.
Defo. Yeah. Sonya, how about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I'm going to echo Sammy on this one. And I think an event like this Blueberry Web3 event is actually an act of an opportunity that showcase the achievement of women, the talents, and it's basically an event that to open a door. I understand that probably it has supposedly it goes like way longer than a month or something that it should be like longer. But I think what they were trying to do, and also like I remember reading a lot of comments in Instagram as well about this, and I think what they were trying to do, or at least what they managed to do, is they managed to open a window to say like you can contribute, you are capable, and like you're welcome in this community. At least up until that point, I think they did a really good job in this event, and it was really nice.
Yeah, brilliant observations on that, defo. And, it's always weird when you have those months, it's either it's Black History Month or it's Women's History Month or any kind of month celebrating something. It's something that I guess we remind ourselves what's taking place in the industry or what's taking place in history and culture. But, it's a 365 event. So we continue to support the people who are entering those markets and making a valid difference and like a very strong difference in those different places. So yeah, great. Anyone else wanted to add anything about that?
If I may, I agree in terms of that particular story. It's a good example. But the Sammy and Sonia's point is that, I'm in the energy industry, right? And the energy industry has made progress in terms of diversity over the last 10 years. But it's like 5 or 6%, right? And we're nowhere near where we need to be. And to Sammy's point is that you see, we all go to how many South by Southwest, Web Summit, blah, blah, blah. You see all the startups. And the amount of ladies and females that are female founders is still small, right? So I the more we can do, the better. But we still have a systemic change. Where I see positiveness around metaverse technologies is the ability for, whether you're off a girl or a boy playing Roblox or Fortnite, and now Fortnite have released their creators thing and blah, blah, blah. The ability for people to go off and create stuff. So that barrier to entry is going down. Now, that does not get over the thing of, I have a cool idea. I need someone to give me money. And then whether the investors will favor female founders or male founders, whatever. But I think that systemic STEM, building up the skills for engineers of the future, and whether it's AI, whether it's Metaverse, whether it's whatever, I think some of the tools will enable more diversity around the world. That's my hope. But right now, yeah, we're making small progress.
Two thoughts. The first thought, when I watched this Web3 fashion from Blueberry and so on, in general, yes, it's definitely needed that this becomes visible. Where I've been a little bit shocked, a little bit concerned is everything was more or less what I've seen so far, just these zippers and boobs and so on. So it's some kind of sexualization. Again, if this would take place in the real world, everyone would be highly shocked. These are just objects. Why the heck do we continue doing this in the metaverse? This is my first thought. The second thing is about the female founders, what Kevin said. We don't have enough of them. To step out and being an entrepreneur, being a founder, to go with your idea to someone and tell is already something that needs a lot of courage, that needs really to be something. Now, who are the investors, more or less? Majority of them are males. What I'm observing currently is a new, I call it Harvey Weinstein effect. I know several female founders who came along with an idea, and these investors were only interested into a date. I mean, it's already hard to step out, to present this. You have always the danger that one of these investors simply steals your idea. I wrote about this a post about this kind of idea parasites. What I'm being confronted right now with is more and more this Weinstein effect. Hey, sure, of course, I give you money, 100K, no problem, date tomorrow or whatever. Or simply they become very rude and tell you, do your job before I do mine. So these are things that need to come in our mind as first. So this diversity, equality, and so on are very depending as well on the community itself and how we all support females.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that there was actually an Accenture study that had, it was a kind of an initiative that they had done about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, where they were going into India and creating female startups, producing venture capital for them, and actually facilitating and incubating them. So it's not just about, here's a bunch of money, here goes, do your startups, but it's also facilitating them throughout the entire process. I know that that's our boot camp. That's one of the things that they had focused on. And I think it was also the Women's XR Fund they're also very, very deeply embedded into this as well. So, yeah, we want to see a lot of those organizations really mobilizing and getting the women into the industry and actually allowing them to prosper, not just creating, certain immersive experiences, but also creating the next generation of different kinds of businesses. So, yeah, great thoughts, everyone. I really appreciate it. I'm going to jump into the next one. So we'll talk a little bit about Ready Player Day One. So this is about upskilling learners with VR and AR learning before going on site. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that people are doing with upskilling with virtual reality and how this is actually helping them to progress right before they're able to go onto site and do their jobs on the first day. So I guess we'll start with Louise, and also anyone else who wants to jump in as well. I would say actually, anyone who wants to jump in, we'll go ahead and start with that because everyone will have different vantage points. So the question to you is, how does augmented and virtual reality learning provide both positive return on investment and also improved learner outcomes?
So I think it starts with a previous question or a previous topic, which is for us to accept that although digital is different from physical, both are becoming very, very real to us, civilization, right? So right now, VR and AR immersive technologies are very transformative, and they can enhance our learning skills just because, well, they cater directly to our capability to memorize and more than that, to recall the feelings and the sense of presence and the sense of agency that we had in specific places. Like, for instance, talking about the ability, for instance, right? I was talking with a manager of a larger industrial corporation that right now is running a program. I was just talking with him like some months ago, and he was sharing that today they already share their experiences about VR experiences about their new equipments with the maintenance team, so the maintenance teams can learn how to deal with the equipments before they reach or before they get the equipments into the offices. So this actually works because, again, people recall how they solve the problems. They have a memory, and by having real memories, people relate, people connect. And one of the cool things about VR, well, actually, there are two cool things. One of the cool thing about VR is that suddenly you can have memories of you doing things that don't necessarily abide to the physical rules of our world, right? So that's really transformative because suddenly you are in the bottom of the sea, or you are doing something that you are most of the times not used to. And that you recall very lively, especially if you are doing that in a social environment, so with more people inside the experience. But again, augmented reality in a very different way also does that, in the sense that it not just changes the meaning of spaces and objects by overlaying digital content on top of the physical scene, but it also expands most of the times the meaning of those objects, of those spaces. And again, you recall that. So there are several studies and several research departments that are focused on this. I'd like to highlight the work of York University that is very focused also on this matter. But again, and at Stanford, of course, with the presence. But again, it's I think at this point it's clearly one of the areas with a lot of use cases, and use cases that are providing continuous value and are proving the value of immersive technologies in the market clearly.
Absolutely. good observations on that. And especially from an industrial point of view, this is one of the very big use cases that a lot of people are using because they want to make sure everything's efficient from day one. Kevin, you're nodding your head over there. I want to definitely get your take on that.
So to Luis's point is that, look, there are multiple studies out there that we've all been in classroom trainings for the 3 days to get the certification, and you retain X%, right? And it depends on whether you've done something, it's the experience, or whether you like the teacher or whatever. So there are multiple studies out there today from universities, research across the globe, that learning something in VR or AR makes it stick, especially if it's the first one, right? Because it's like, oh, this is different. I remember that. So that's a given. What I feel is fascinating right now, and which is a great thing in the world I live in the energy industry. So you have some of the leaders of, whether it's Schneider Electric, ABB, Siemens Energy, yada, yada. You've all of the energy companies going, we created a VR training simulation for our guys to learn how to connect the connector that goes into an LNG gas pipeline before the ship turned up, because we can't do it in real time because we don't have time, and we can do it in the real world. And there's hundreds of these examples out there. So it saves time, saves money. It's an interesting experience. And that's happening today because it saves them time, money, and it's just easier. Where we're headed with the whole industrial metaverse stuff is that many of these VR, AR training things today are created in a silo. So I create once, and then if anything changes, I have to start again. Well, if you kind of play forward with NVIDIA and Siemens and Omniverse and blah and Unreal and whatever, they're going, hey, look, we'll have a real-time digital twin. So if you change something in the real world, it'll turn up in the digital twin, and the VR training will change tomorrow morning. So that concept of training and shorter time to getting stuff working and whatever is that's not going away. That's got nothing to do with meta, right? That's just happening. So this whole ready player day one, it's happening faster and faster, especially in industry. Look at what's going on in medical, right? Again, another fascinating area. So the amount of industrial companies that are looking at this to save money, save time, and attract the next generation of talent, because we've got a cool environment. Don't underestimate that, right? Now, there's lots of problems. It doesn't work perfectly, blah, but this is happening.
Kevin, you've said one very important thing, that the metaverse will connect all of these silos. Very important. I think that this is one of the biggest misunderstandings of the metaverse itself, that it's not about all of these small Roblox, Minecraft, what is Fortnite, and so on and so on. The metaverse is the exchange layer between all of these smaller verses. This is
correct.
One thing that is very important. So connecting all of these different experiences, making them scalable and of course accessible to others. The thing is, right now, I do not know a single player on the market that makes these trainings mandatory. All of them are right now still POCs. I don't know about the energy market. I know about some other markets, automotive and so on, where the ROI is, can I train lower grade people to do higher grade stuff with all of these things that I can fire the more expensive people and simply automotive. I don't know about the energy sector. Therefore, especially in Germany, the workers' councils are very careful with this. So here we see many POCs, many ORCID projects that are starting. So standardization, some kind of really enabling the people not just to learn it in XR, but even to work in XR. This might have one of the biggest superpowers ever to change our working market. So here, if you not just train it, but you continue to use these tools for your everyday's work. I mean, imagine, for example, during pandemic, who were able to work remotely? The office workers, right? What about agriculture, mining companies, construction areas? If these guys, or energy sector, if these guys could use this immersive tech, this metaverse tools to train their staff, to work remotely in their jammies during the pandemic, outside with a remotely operated robot.
I just want to add to what Jay was saying, like, how does this improve positive ROI? I also think of ROI as return of impact. Now, a fundamental belief that I hold is that technology, its purpose is to connect people rather than disconnect people. And it's kind of ironic having VR headsets on, or this vision of smart glasses in the future walking down the street with geospatial and geolocation markers. Does that disconnect us from our primal fundamental reality? And how does this impact the field of education? Now, I feel like this generation and future generations, we are looking for immersive, interactive experiences. Like, you see how many gamers are out there in the world. And if you look at like the game theory of octalysis, which is gamification, what are the motivational drivers that, motivate someone to feel connected or achieve a certain outcome? Applying these game theories to the field of education, whether you're deploying technologies such as AR or VR, is super engaging and, inspiring to the future generations, because ROI, if it's return of impact and it's about connecting people via technology, it's about giving people opportunities to use immersion to enhance their, let's say, emotional quotient, not just their IQ. And what kind of world would we create and build if people, for example, could have these simulations and experience all these different point of views? How would that change the outcome of a workplace or whatever industry or field we're in? And that is the power of those technologies. So one could argue that, it is connecting people together, but it's also making us, think about the ethics around all of this. And, what does this metaverse even mean in terms of a sense of shared virtual space, and how we treat one another as, let's say, even digital twins or avatars in these environments. But I do believe it's fundamentally disrupting education. It's also inspiring people to create new. We have customer journeys, right, in marketing, but it's like, what's the learner journey? It doesn't have to be linear. It can be non-linear, and so applying that in gamification is opening up a Pandora's box or a cornucopia of opportunities. And I do believe, with technology, there's two choices: love or fear. Right? Fear is the Pandora's box of, say, technologies like AI, and what does ChatGPT, and are we planning our redundancy? Or are we choosing love, which is how can we connect people together to have the best possible ROI?
Absolutely. Definitely. And we noticed that so many companies now are creating these types of solutions. I was able to speak to Morpheus, who's at, they have like an online collaborative platform just for getting people to get together despite being in disparate parts of the world, and, interacting with each other, having cyber drinks, they actually refill the cups and everything. You can watch movies together. But then you have, the more hardcore companies like Oberon Technologies. You have, Motive.io, and lots of other different ones that were showing return on investment, not just so that they could show like, hey, we're doing something great, but how far do we take it next? This return on investment actually allows us to gauge how far we want to push the next envelope. Unlike with the meta approach, it was more idealistic. This one's based on real tangible markers that they could use to progress the industry itself. So yeah, wanted to quickly go to the last question. We only have time for just one more. Wanted to ask a little bit about, so we will talk a little bit about the Silicon Valley Bank and the Silvergate Bank. There's also a Signature Bank that's recently collapsed as well. What this signals for the Web3 economy. So this is kind of a very sensitive subject because many people are losing access to capital and they're unable to fund these new Web3 projects, especially for startups. I'm going to leave the floor open to anyone who wants to jump in for this, because everyone's going to have their own unique perspectives on this particular situation. Who would like to take it first?
I think I can start first on this one. I think as someone who's actually also been in a situation having to put on hold of my own startup because of like one thing or the other, and also a little bit part of this as well. Of course, apart from the funding challenge that a lot of people would get, I think basically like the collapse of these two major bank would lead to volatility of the market itself. Like the instability a little bit could impact the growth or like the accelerated that we would have hoped. Like a lot of us who decided to build companies about like a couple of years ago, and the acceleration that we hope to get like now is not exactly like smooth sailing. It's a bit like because of it. But I think for me, like despite the negative impacts that we are currently in right now, I also believe that it will accelerate the innovation, because then the failure of this traditional bank would also like make you think about like, okay, that apparently we do need something more resilient, like maybe something more decentralized in terms of our financial system, or like at the end of the day, like the project that is going to be funded are the project that are accelerating, like for the long run, like accelerated product, accelerated technology. And so if we want to see that for the better, I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a massive rabbit hole that we could go down with that, definitely. But we understand exactly where you're getting at with this. That the markets themselves are so interconnected that if one or two of these fall, then a lot of other people fall. So we have to find new innovative solutions, and that's the beauty of using this technology that we've got, Web3. Just a quick thing I want to interject is that, for example, when people were losing Bitcoin, there was this massive Bitcoin scandal going around. FTX collapsed, and people were wondering where are they going to do with it? They all went to decentralized finance. Exactly. So a lot of people were pouring into off-chain wallets, and that was the brilliance, the ingenuity of the fact that they could create these new solutions to circumvent the problems. And I think that's what technology allows people to do, is to circumvent negativity or to circumvent potential pitfalls that take place in our natural environments. So anyone else want to jump in on that one?
The thing with the Silicon Valley Bank is what mostly people do not realize, or they somehow tend to forget, is it's not just the startups that had their money there. Many investors had their money there. They are right now scared to death. It started only with the pandemic, when it was not just for 3 months a flu. It turned out to be far longer. So even if you had a very cool startup with a brilliant idea, it was frozen for 2.5 years. So as an investor, you had to relearn your business. There are a lot of investors that still did not return into the business. Some of my partners, where I made with them seed or Series A rounds, now they start with Series B. So here, this is what I've mentioned before. This private equity to 30 million simply to start a business completely disappeared. Honestly, if banks could be replaced by a decentral system, for me, it would be beautiful. I don't think so. These are greedy monsters. I mean, HSBC. Come on. Seriously? These are money laundering. These are, and I don't want to call them names, otherwise I will be sued. So here, the need for a radically different approach on investment is needed. So how Sonya, for example, mentioned this kind of peer-to-peer, where people together, a new kind of community. I see this more into the investment space, where we have a lot of, especially here in Munich, for example, you have many people from the tech business. They are not rich. They have 50, 100, 150K somehow. You can't buy anything for this in Munich. So they have this money. They are attracted by technology. If we would find a platform, something to connect these people with startups, some kind of curated services, not Kickstarter. In Kickstarter, you get some kind of imaginary product. Here, you would get shares. So instead of attracting 1 or 2, 4 VCs to fund your adventure, you would simply be connected via a Web3 investment landscape, whatever, with maybe 20 or 30. each of these guys would get a little bit of the overall package what otherwise you would give to a VC. So simply a completely new kind of investment from people that might be as well, not just the dumb banker who understands his business models and all of the Excel sheets and so on, but people who can as well help you. Hey, I'm stuck in programming. I need support with the SaaS platform. I need whatever. Maybe they might even hop into the game as your interim CMO or whatever. So if right now the Web3 community, the fintech community would merge their forces and step out of the shadow and really creating here a huge disruptive model to empower more people to become entrepreneurs, this would be my personal dream.
Excellent observations. Anyone else want to jump in on that?
So if I may, two perspectives. First one is the SVB bank and whatever. And I don't know whatever, there's investigations, whatever. But it seems that they betted on government bonds and obviously interest rates increased and whatever, and they got screwed, right? That has wider implications for all of the rest of the banking sector. And we've seen Credit Suisse and Manioor and whatever. So to Sonia's point, if you are a startup, scale up, whatever, you're out there looking for funding right now, it's a tough environment, right? Money is tight. I don't care what investor, what wealth fund, what family you are from, everyone's going, ooh, hang on a second, no, let's just wait a second. So that is hard on people. To Jay's point, and that's going to take time to play out. We had the Fed raise whatever 0.25 EU, whatever. That's going to take time. To Jay's point, I am a big fan of blockchain technology. I believe the whole decentralized thing is fascinating. I'm still not sure how it all plays out, and I'll be honest. I've got crypto and I've got the NFTs and and right now, the majority of those things are scams, right? And we've had some of the biggest failures in the past couple of years around crypto and decentralized finance and pyramid schemes and whatever. Look, human nature hasn't changed. And God knows the banking sector, the human nature hasn't changed either in terms of their ability to make money out of other people's misery, right? We had the subprime mortgage and the derivatives and whatever. Still don't understand that. Still don't understand some of the tokenization or whatever. I do believe Jay's point in that if people could trust that I can give my money, my 50K, my 100 grand, and I can invest in companies, and there's risk, right? There's always risk, but there's whatever nirvana. But Jay, I love your optimism, but whether it's the big banks or some of the Web3 stuff, human nature hasn't changed, right? So that's the problem, right? We're all pretty skeptical.
Actually, I was just hearing you, and I had a discussion, like, I don't know, maybe today. I think it was today, lunchtime. Right now I'm in Lisbon, and it's almost dinner time. And it was exactly about that. Like 20 years ago, I had like I don't know, maybe an aunt coming back to me and saying, "Oh, you're working in the internet, but that's just like pirates and criminals, right?" Because it was Emule, and after Napster, it was I don't know, a LimeWire, and it was all piracy, and to everyone, the internet was something that was something kind of hazy and very, very very dark, where things could happen without any kind of rules, and where crimes could happen. And I think at the end, that's pretty much where we are right now, and that's pretty much what happens when you have technology out in the wild, and we're getting used to that. We have decades of that, and right now we are having even more and more, not just blockchain, but several others being lined up to do that. Like starting now with AI, like what's happening right now with AI is changing so dramatically our society as a whole that it's crazy that no one is right now like trying to grab a hold of it. So, and it boils down to, Kevin, what you just said. So it would really be interesting, and I'm pretty much on the side of Jay. Decentralized is a way to go, but we need to trust, and trust usually comes from a centralized entity or someone that can like provide that. Again, I think that we need to like find new ways to sort this out and to enable a level of tokenization that is not based on just money, but that is based on the value that people are bringing together into an organization, into a DAO, into something that then afterwards is worth something. But we shouldn't care about that last part. We should care about, again, enabling and creating models where that value appears. And that's where I think all the hype around cryptos, around then NFTs and all the profile pics going around kind of, damaged this course that we could have. So clearly that. Also, just circling back in a really quick one to the question, one of the things that I noticed from this, I think it was connected, the untethering of the USDC stablecoin had clearly also an impact, I think, in several in the relationship that some people like me have with cryptos. So that I think is something that also shows that cryptos are not so apart from the other traditional economy as we think they are, because again it comes down to the investors also having their money, and they are using that money to buy in cryptos, and well, everything's connected.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's all
right.
humans behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the end of the day.
Right, definitely. Yeah, we won't even get started on the SEC, which I think has actually been, pushing things in a completely different direction. But we're probably going to have to dedicate an entirely new show just for ChatGPT-4 and cryptocurrency to get to the bottom of that one. But we're out of time. But I do appreciate everyone for joining this episode of Big News Show. So once again, we have Samantha Tauber, we have Sonya Seddarasan, Kevin O'Donovan, we have Jay Latta, and Luis Bravo Martins. Thanks so much for joining us all today. And if you want to continue following shows like this, please follow us at the Big News hashtag. And please follow us also on our Twitter and LinkedIn profiles, our social media. So once again, my name's Cureton. This has been the Big News Show, joining the international community of great thinkers, thought leaders, also talking about the news topics from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a lovely time. Bye now.
Bye.